Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the continuation of our video lessons for Unit 5, Data and Society. Today, we're going to be talking about making decisions with data. How do we make decisions in society today? We base it on what we see in front of us, the data we're given, the information we're given, or just what we see. So let's get started on it. First of all, let's talk about what we're going to be doing. In this lesson, you're going to get to practice making decisions with data based on some problems designed to be familiar to you as middle school students. You're going to work to discuss how you would use the data presented to make decisions before you and I discuss our final choices. Not all questions have right answers. Always remember that whenever you are looking at data and you're drawing conclusions. There's not always a right answer for these things. You can have many different answers for the same data that you're receiving. And that's what's fun about collecting data and using it. You get to make decisions based on what you see and not somebody else. So remember that there's always different conclusions based on the data you get. The lesson concludes with a discussion on how different people could draw different conclusions from the same data. Okay, that's what I just said. Objectives. Use tables and visualizations summarizing data to support a decision. You're going to present and critique interpretations of tables, not the table you're sitting at, but tables based on charts and visualizations. Identify additional data that could be collected to improve your decision. Okay, so our first thing we want to look at is our overview. This lesson gives you a chance to practice the data problem solving process introduced in the last lesson. Not all questions have right answers. In some cases, the class, which would be you, should decide that you need to collect more data. This lesson concludes with a discussion about how different people could draw different conclusions from the same data and how collecting different data might have affected the decision you made. Okay, so today we're going to talk about where we're going to work with the activity guide. So make sure you ask your instructor for the activity guide. It'll be sent to your Google Classroom. That way you've got it on hand. And there is no bubbles in this unit. So we go right into the activity guide. So go ahead and get your activity guide. And this is what it should look like. Okay, so we'll be going through the activity guide today. Okay, the first part, when to post. Okay, and what does that look like? Define, prepare, try, and reflect. All right, so we're going to go through that process. First of all, we want to define what we're looking for. You want to know when to post a picture online to get the greatest response. You're going to prepare yourself to answer this question by you and your friends posted images to your favorite apps for a week. You kept track of likes and comments to see if there was any different patterns. Then you tried it. You collected information about when you made a post and how many likes and comments you received. Average likes and comments of each time to post are shown below. Okay, so here's our graph. This is what it looks like. We had the likes are in the lighter blocks, the grayer blocks, and the comments are in the darker blocks, okay? So first of all, let's go ahead and look at the reflection first. Okay, so here we go. Now it's your turn to try and help. Can you make a recommendation for what time to post? If you want the most likes, I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and answer those 3 questions, okay? So go ahead and answer those 3, and I'll come right back to you. Okay, based on what you saw or what you see in front of you, if you want the most likes, when would be the most likes recorded on that graph? If you chose 6 p.m., you were correct. 6 p.m. is when they got the most likes. Now, how about if you want the most comments? The most comments. So you're looking at the most comments. Comments boxes were, the comment bars were the darker ones. Most comments. Where is that? That would be noon. So if you look at the noon, you'll find the most comments. And that's where we would get right here, most comments. Okay. All right, the last one. What information would you want to collect to make even a better decision? Okay, what other information would you like to have to make a better decision? If you'll notice the graph that we have, or the bar chart that we have, it only goes Monday through Friday. What about the weekend? Don't you think we want to check the weekend out just to see what the information or what the data would show us? I certainly would. Um, anyway, that would be the first thing that I'd be looking for is weekend stuff, weekend information. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, making meals. Okay, so in making meals, our cafeteria would like to decide how best to reduce their food waste after noticing they are throwing out food each day. To answer their question, the cafeteria decided to collect information about the number of meals prepared, daily attendance, and the type of meal, and the number of meals eaten versus wasted. Okay, they're going to try it by cafeteria collected the data and created the following chart. Meals, okay, they went pizza, hamburgers, chicken fingers, salad, and grilled cheese on particular days. They went with the meals prepared, the attendance, the meals eaten, and the meals wasted. Okay, so take a good look at that. Spend a couple minutes on that. Go ahead and answer the questions that go along with the meals, and I'll get back to you again, and we'll go over those. Okay, we're back. All right, so based on the chart that you see above you, there's some questions that we need to answer. How many meals should they prepare each day? Okay, based on what you see and the attendance and the meals eaten, what do you think? What is your guess on how many meals they should prepare per day? Okay, if you said 88, you're right. 88 seemed to be the answer that the people in being, in other words, ones that made the informational chart, felt that that's what they needed per day. 88 meals per day. Okay. Should they vary how many meals they make based on the meals served or the attendance? Which one do you think? Based on the attendance or on the meals served? Okay, well, personally, I think it should be both. Yeah, it should be both. Both of them. They should look at the attendance, then make fewer meals, especially if it's a salad. If it's chicken fingers, maybe make enough for everybody. Chicken fingers seem to be the most popular. All right, and salad seems to be the least popular. So, based on that data, you can kind of draw some conclusions based on that. Am I correct in assuming that? No, not at all. You may have a different idea based on the information you see, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what's fun about collecting data. Your conclusions and my conclusions may be different. Here's the last question. Is there more information you want to collect to make your decision? Yeah, I want to try more weeks and maybe look at the day of the week. That might matter too. And not just the type of meal, but how many people are eating that type of meal. So those are some other things that you might think about when you're drawing those conclusions. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Locker selection. Locker selection is a little tougher. Okay, we're starting next year. The school year has decided to allow you to choose your own locker so that it's most convenient for your schedule. You need to make data-driven decisions to decide which locker you're going to request. To answer that question, you and your friends collected some information about how long it takes you to walk from each locker to your classes by walking through the hallways with a stopwatch. Okay, our try was, here's the data that was collected. Okay, so based on our data collected, locker A, time to first period, 1 minute, which is good. Time to second period, 2 minutes, which is good. Time to third period, that wasn't so good, that was bad, based on locker A. Time to fourth period, and so on. So take a good look at all of these and kind of draw some conclusions based on what you see, and we'll come back and answer the questions. Okay, based on what you see, let's go ahead and answer our questions. First of all, now it's time for you to make a decision. Discuss with your group, okay, you're by yourself, it's just you and I, and decide which locker do you want? Which locker would you want? Based on the information you see, which locker would you want? When you're looking at the data, the first thing I would look at is see which one does not have any bads in it. And I only see one locker that doesn't have any bads. It's got good, okay, good, okay, okay. Locker D has 2 bads. Locker C has 2 bads or 3 bads. And locker A has 2 bads. So based on just looking at the bad portion, I would go with locker B, and that's what they chose too, locker B. Locker B was the answer for the first one. Okay, Why? What data convinced you? Well, we looked at the bad portion. I would look at the bads first. We know that there's going to be goods for all of them, or most of them somewhere. But I would definitely look at the bads and judge from the bads. How many minutes it took to go from here's the average times. You can look at the average times. B had 2.8 minutes, which wasn't the lowest, but it also didn't have any bads in it. Average time, 2.8 minutes, 1 minute, 1.3, and 0.6. So actually, it took a little bit more, but they skipped the bad portions, skipped locker on bad periods. So it took a little longer, but overall, I guess the goods outweigh the bads. We can look at it that way. All right. And what data convinced you? My books are really heavy and I want to go to my locker between every class. Okay, that's one of the big things that they chose because they wanted to go back to their locker each time after each class. That's another reason they chose B. They can go back and forth after each class. Okay, the last one. Are there other pieces of data that you'd also like to see before making a decision? Okay. How about where your friends are? I mean, we all know we want to go where our friends are and check out our friends in between classes and talk for a couple minutes. It's kind of a given. That's what we always do. It's just part of it. So maybe where our friends are. Where's my friend's locker at? Is it close by? Is it far away? That might be another consideration in your locker decision. So as you look at all of this data to draw your conclusions, each one of us is going to draw conclusions based on what we see. What you see and what I see are different. And that's just the way it is. That's why we collect data. That's why we all draw our own conclusions based on the data. And we have different conclusions. We have different answers. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just be able to back up your answer, back up your decision with what you see, and use the information that you have in front of you to make sure that other people understand why you made your decision. What was it based on? The information, the data. So that's what this is all about. Structuring data, making decisions based on data, and you being able to support your decision. So that concludes this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.